gentlemen, welcome into episode 82 of Smart Money Sundays. Obviously, this is coming in after a large number of news events that happened mid to late last week, kind of injecting some significant volatility into the market, and hence why we're seeing kind of a lot of what appears to be higher time frame retracements now on some of these dollar pairs. My personal opinion is, especially XXXUSD, is still kind of up in the air as to are we going to make another high on the higher time frames, right? On Euro USD, we have traded into 1.1, which is a level that we have been targeting for quite some time. But in my personal opinion, I was looking to trade a little bit deeper into this area of supply where we had those equal highs run out, right? The buy to sell, and the fact that we never mitigated the up close candle, right? But what you can see here is this previous gap in price, right? And oftentimes when there's gaps like this, and price trades back into those areas, we'll often see that price has a significant level of sensitivity around those areas, right? And so hence why we saw the massive sell-off on Euro USD with NFP and obviously FOMC taking place last week. All right, and so for the here and now, right, obviously we are still very much so bullish from a market structure perspective, right? This is that higher low that produced that higher high, right, creating this big trading range in here, and now we've seen the volatility injection to at least push price down into discounted price, right, where we should be looking to continue with that overall structure until it actually breaks, right? Until this level breaks, Euro USD, obviously on the daily time frame, is certainly bullish, right? And so this will be a significant area to watch, right? This is one from weeks ago that we talked about, right? 1.0600, really down into the 1 hour down close candle at 1.0550, right? Right, 1.0600, nice institutional level, right? Whole number as well as a down close candle here. We should be pretty good to go to, look for potential selling opportunities should the market allow more space to do so before reaching our bullish POIs. In this instance, obviously we do have our kind of 4 hour demand to supply flip here at 1.0880, right? And you also have that 4 hour 50 EMA, right, as dynamic resistance here for EU. All right, so we have now run out these equal lows, right? Now we should be looking, in my opinion, for potentially retracements, right, to look to sell down into discount, or we should be looking for the more highly probable buying opportunities, right? So that's kind of the narrative that I'm seeing right now on Euro USD, and it's very similar across the board here on some of these other dollar pairs, right? GBP USD, we had this high, right? We had the equal lows run out, accumulation. Right, we never really did make a higher high though, right? You can see that we did wick past this high, but we didn't close and break and sustain above that high. And so that kind of renders this structure invalid, right, to some degree, right? Which doesn't give me as much confidence, especially given the fact that we're almost trading down into it now when Euro USD still has some space to go down into its discounted bullish POI. Right, so we very well could run this low out, right, just given the fact that this low did not create a new higher high. So just be aware of that when situations like these arise. Right, you just look at this and naturally, right, have that assumption that this is the protected low, right, this is the market structure, but in reality it did not produce a higher high, so the trading range remains the same, right? So, with this momentum at the moment to the downside, right, obviously could be looking for kind of half risk selling opportunities on this one as well, right, for continuation, especially if we kind of trade up higher now before getting down into the sponsor candle in here. Right? Remember, we're not necessarily placing a buy limit here at the sponsor candle because this is not a true piece of market structure. Right, with the 1 hour down close though, that should at least be something we could be looking to sell into as a target. Right, the 1 hour down close candle here at 1.1930 into 1.1900. All right, so let's see if something intraday, right, gives us an opportunity to kind of look to sell off of this area. All right, I'm not going to be forcing anything, especially with the significant volatility we're seeing at the moment. A lot of things are just not necessarily clear as day, especially when the higher time frames and the lower time frames are no longer in alignment, right? And that's kind of what we're seeing here. AUD USD, right? Very similar. Right, we got the equal lows here. These ought to be run out, right? We have that demand, right? The true trading range, the higher low that really did produce the higher high, right? On the higher time frames, right? This is certainly potential, right? But remember, this created equal lows, so I don't necessarily deem this as a valid piece of structure, especially given the fact that we had no manipulation or liquidity run. All right, and so I do fully expect that these lows will be run out and price will certainly trade into 0.6790, right, where we have that demand, the down close candle here that was never mitigated. All right, so until that point, we certainly could be looking for, again, kind of retracements to look to sell, right? You have the high, right? You have the low, you have the high, right? In reality, I don't necessarily view this as a higher high, right? More so just a liquidity run, right? You had a little bit of a reprice and then the sell-off. All right, so maybe perhaps if we dig up into this inefficiency in here, kind of into 7020, might be a decent area to look for continuations lower down into our equal lows, right, and down into our 1 hour down close candle. Okay, so that is AUD USD. Now USD CAD. And this one is certainly tricky, right? We obviously had the selling opportunity from here, right, while simultaneously running this internal piece of liquidity, induced liquidity, right? You had the buy to sell, right? We kind of took profit here at these lows, right? And now we've kind of really pushed higher with the dollar strength that kind of came into the market towards the latter half of last week, right? Remember, we still have our higher time frame targets, right? At least 1.321 beneath these equal lows, but in my opinion, I certainly think we can dig deeper down into 1.3050, right, as our final target, or then we can be looking for accumulation to buy USD CAD long term. We're seeing a lot of CAD strength in the market at the moment, but obviously we're also seeing a lot of USD strength as well, right? So that kind of contradicts each other when it comes to USD CAD, therefore makes it kind of less preferable in my eyes, right? Especially given the momentum that we saw into this area last week. All right, and so, we certainly could have an overall run, an overall retracement, right, deeper into this supply here, 1.3600, right, and then have another sell-off. I certainly think that is on the cards. Or we could continue with this lower time frame structure here, right? This kind of channeling down, right? The channeling down, right? That is also a potential scenario. It just depends on kind of what the dollar decides to do. All right, but ultimately, we have our objectives, we have our targets. We should be looking for opportunities to continue to sell this thing down into those objectives. I'm definitely not looking at this as a low in this market, right? Not a low in the market. All right, so it's just a matter of, are we going to have that higher time frame retracement, or are we just going to have maybe a potential internal liquidity run, or maintain this channel to the downside? All right, just something to watch out for. We obviously already had the beautiful trade opportunity on this one, so I'm kind of putting this pair on the back burner for the time being. USD JPY, right? This one, I'm also not looking at this as a low in the market. It's just not a low in the market, right, from experience. We are having that strong push, right, likely enticing retail traders thinking we're going to break structure and go higher or go bullish in terms of a structure break. But in reality, I'm kind of looking at this as a run on liquidity for price to get back up into our 133.25 handle, where we have the up close that was never accounted for. Right, and so I'd like to see that area met, right, one final buy to sell and look to continue selling USD JPY, right, obviously this being the target, this old low. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. All right, I do like this on USD JPY. This was never accounted for, right, this is as far as we retraced, really didn't come into anything, right, so this is internal liquidity, right, to simultaneously be run while trading up into our up close candle. All right, so that looks pretty clean to me. Right, really the same goes for Euro JPY. Right, remember this is the level we gave out for buys, right? Looking to target buy side liquidity here and trade up into our demand to supply flip, which is what it appears to be doing, right? So we want to see these highs run, looking for selling opportunities and distribution in this area around 144. Right, but until then we can look to buy up into that, right? Buy up into these highs, right? As the draw on liquidity, right? And from here I'll be looking to sell down into our equal lows as a draw on sell side liquidity after having traded up into premium price. All right, so that's EJ. Pound Swiss franc. This one's a bit tricky at the moment, right? Because we're kind of trapped. You have higher lows, right, and you have lower highs, right? So this thing is really kind of getting ready to to run one way or the other. My preference is with pound strength. Right, I'm looking at this especially as that last kind of liquidation, that sell to buy, right? And this is more so corrective in nature, right? And so if we were to break out of this kind of channel here, right, this wedge, right, I would certainly think that there would be some sort of liquidation again, following the theme, right? Sell to buy. All right, so at the moment, I wouldn't necessarily, try to get involved within the middle of this range. We certainly want to see manipulation, right? Run on liquidity before looking to get involved. We want to be sellers below old lows buyers below old lows and sellers above old highs, right? Not trading within the range. Okay. So nothing crazy in terms of a POI here. I'm just kind of wanting to see how price behaves, potentially dig down deeper into here, right? That would obviously be more ideal given the fact that it's further discounted, right? It would offer a higher risk to reward, more of a swing opportunity, right? Just wanted to point that one out. CAD JPY, very similar to Euro JPY, right? Kind of had the up close here, that price never traded into. We've just been ranging, right? So really looking for, and again, these yen pairs are still significantly bearish at the moment, higher time frames. So really kind of just looking for a run higher, right, through these highs into 100, and then look for the subsequent sell-off, right? So you have the sell-off, you have the consolidation, right, picking up more orders, and then the continuation. Just want to get back up into that area for the follow-through. Okay. All right. AUD CAD, right, seeing a lot of momentum on this one to the downside. It has traded into a higher time frame level, right? You can see the higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, failure to create a higher high, breach, right? So demand flips to supply. 93.8 is going to be a very intriguing level for me since we have now kind of shifted structure back to the downside, right? And you got the 4-hour 50 EMA or the 8-hour 50 EMA as well, right, acting as dynamic resistance. All right, we certainly have a lot of room to go for a higher time frame retracement, just given the fact that we've just been trickling up this entire time. So finally seeing that pull back on the higher time frames. All right, so 93.80 is going to be the level there. Really the same goes for NZD CAD, very nicely correlated. All right, we have 8.550, hop lower. All right, we have the distribution in price, right, that last final buy to sell, right, running out this internal liquidity, a little bit of a reprice here, follow through. All right, so 8.550 is going to be the first level. If we do retrace higher into further premium, then this bit of supply is going to be my next point of interest in and around 8.600, 8.620. All right, going to look to sell into this previous low here. All right, so looking for shorting opportunities on this one as well this week. GBP CAD following along with that Canadian dollar strength. All right, I do think we can look to take out this low, especially given the fact that we distributed in price here, caught the initial sells, ran lower, higher low, failed to create a higher high. Right, we're now trading lower. I do think we can attack the liquidity resting beneath this low. All right, so in that instance, very easily just could continue to kind of trickle down. All right, in the lower time frames, this would be the natural level. All right, that sell to buy to sell. All right, simple intraday retracement, 1.6300 continuation. That's what I'll be looking for. Just need to have the right time and price. Just a couple more. CAD Swiss franc, again following that Canadian dollar strength narrative at the moment. Right, we do have very clean equal highs that I do believe to be the draw on liquidity at the moment. So it's really just a matter of getting that retracement into discount. Right, obviously here's your down close right here for the continuation higher into those equal highs. Right, but that's the overall theme on and kind of bias on CAD Swiss franc. All right, we have GBP AUD, which is continuing to sell off, and in my opinion, I think can dig down into this area of, remember from a while ago, supply, right, reaction, supply fails, flip to demand, never traded back down into that. So I think we can look to continue to sell this one down into that level at 1.6800. Right, and so the natural level for us to look for continuations is going to be obviously up close here, traded into up close, traded into up close. Right, so naturally we're following this mitigation train, looking at this up close as the next point for continuations. Right, and if we do breach higher, which we certainly could, right, then we could trade deeper into that. That would be okay as well. Right, but I do like this intraday level of structure for the time being. All right, and then nothing on GN, kind of similar to GBP AUD. All right, so again, finally getting some volatility in the market. We just need to wait for those layup setups, layup opportunities, not try to force anything at the moment. It's been a kind of shaky, rough couple of weeks. We fully understand that. It hasn't been the greatest for me personally. I just embrace it and accept the fact that these types of conditions happen from time to time. Right, and we have to be patient. We have to relax. Right, not get too flustered because the markets will kind of resort back to clean wave play eventually, right? And we'll make all those losses back and then more, even more, all right? And so it's just, you got to have the professional trading mindset, understand, things go through different phases. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this episode and have a pretty decent picture and kind of bias on where we're looking to head this week on a lot of these pairs. We will see you again next Sunday. Thank you.